Hello and welcome to Talking Wrestling with Pond Water Dave. My name is Justin Davis, and as always, I'm joined this week by the warm and air conditioned-less the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club, Miss Amy Bond, and of
Hello,
course,
hello.
hello, and of course, Mr. Pond Water Dave. Dave, who's with us this week?
Oh, we're super excited for this week. You saw I dressed appropriately for the occasion. Our guest tonight has been producing and directing professional wrestling for over 4 decades. He was the director for World Class Championship Wrestling. He's been with WCW. He's been with ROH. He's been with MLW. Not just wrestling. He's been with the PGA, with Turner Sports. He's done it all, and he has agreed to be on our little show tonight. And we can't. Oh, and he also in 2022 was inducted into the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Right.
Please welcome to the show, Mr. Dan Bynum.
Yay!
Right. I when I heard from one of my classmates in the Hall of Fame, I knew I had to do the show. So Dave and I went in together, and I was proud to be an associate of his at the time, and that was a lot of fun.
And that is not something most people say. So that is really, really good.
My biggest memory from that Hall of Fame was just looking around the room. Just looking around the room, like there's Dan and there's Tug Taylor, and just so many Scott Summers and me. It was definitely one of those cases. One of these things is not like the other. But I'm honored beyond belief to be in there, especially with the class that I went in with.
Well, you're a Hall of Famer in every sense of the word, because you have officiated some historic matches, and I was there in Nashville when you counted out Ric Flair for his final win, and that was thrilling, and it's appropriate that you were the one to do it.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And we were talking before we came on the air about my fandom being in World Class Championship Wrestling, and that's what I'm looking. We're going to talk about other stuff, but we're going to do a lot of World Class today. That I was telling him that the first 4 visits to watch wrestling live, Ric Flair was there.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until over 2 years later that I realized I wasn't going to see the Von Erichs. I wasn't going to see the Freebirds. That it was once Kerry lost the title won the title from Rick, I switched and realized Rick is the reason I've been coming here.
Hmm.
And it was the draw of the NWA champion. And that's the beauty of Ric Flair, is that he made me hate him so bad I wanted to go see him get beat up. And that's how it was supposed to work back then.
Absolutely. He had such heat at the time, and we were discussing this because that was kayfabe. That was back when wrestling was real. Mm-hmm. and we believed. And so wrestling fans now cannot understand how intense that was. And for the fans, for the wrestlers, everything, because it was real and we believed. And it was so real that we had to have bodyguards escort the heels and the baby faces down the aisle at the Sportatorium, because the heels were in danger of being stabbed, and because people hated them so much, and the baby faces were in danger of having their hair torn out and clothes torn off, because the women loved them so much, because we all totally believed, and it was real, and it was so intense. And that was what was thrilling to me, because when I got into directing wrestling there at Channel 39, when I was a kid out in East Texas, for some reason, I mainly watched roller derby. So that was my thing as a kid, was roller derby. And so I came to wrestling with a clean slate. I didn't really understand what it was until we did a site survey and went into the Sportatorium and saw that there were 2,500 people in there that could completely suspend their disbelief and totally get into it. And it was an energy and an excitement that I had never known before. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I wanted to make TV that made it easier for people to suspend their disbelief and understand how intense and exciting it was. And at WCCW back then, the work was so stiff that it was real. All you had to do was point your camera at it, and you would get things that people had never seen, because prior to World Class Championship Wrestling, the television show, the production values for professional wrestling were minimal.
Mhm.
You had 2 hard cameras usually. Mostly it was in studio. And so you had a wide shot and kind of a tight shot, and the guys would come over and yell up at the hard camera to do their promos and that kind of stuff. But at Channel 39, prior to Fritz coming to us, that was a independent it was the only independent station in Dallas at the time. This was prior to cable. So, and there was a Pat Robertson station.
Yeah,
But
you had 4, 5, 8 and 8 were your networks.
Yeah.
And then 11
then there was
a super
11.
station.
Yeah, there was 11.
It
It was no, not at the
because Fox
time.
wasn't around. And then
Nope.
you had Channel 39 over on the UHF side.
Right. And so it was a Pat Robertson station, but I wanted to be there because they had a TV truck. And so when I got hired there, I was just a kid basically out of college, and I'd done some industrial television at Texas Instruments, but they had a television truck, and that was very exciting. So during the week, we would do all of the producing the advertisements and the promotions and all of that stuff. But on the weekends, the production manager would subcontract us out to ESPN or Southwest Sports or whatever the thing was. And we would go out and we would cover, at the time, the Southwest Conference, every sport they had. So we did football, basketball, baseball, swimming we did. So we had a group of guys that were really capable of going into a live sports situation and covering it with network quality. And so we were really good at doing live sports. So when we went into the Sportatorium, we didn't know any better. We just went in there and covered it like every other live sport that we did. So we went in with the 2 handheld cameras down by the ring. We did a lot of miking of the ring itself, of the corners, and we had the shotgun mics on the cameras. So when you got a close up, the audio guy would push that mic up and you'd hear what was happening there. So when World Class Championship Wrestling came on the air, we were able to get those tight shots because we had 2 camera guys down by the ring. One was Vic Sosa, the other was Oswald Coleman, Oz, and they were courageous enough to stand on the ring. They would hold on to the ring rope. They would be able to shoot over into the ring and get these shots, tight shots no one had ever seen. And we were shooting through the ring ropes too, but we were getting the tight shots and
not exposing the business.
Not at all, because there was because it was real, because we were working so stiff. It was real. And so, we were totally working kayfabe, which was kind of a transition. It took a while for us to be more or less accepted. Thank God for Gary Hart, who was my mentor, who I learned so much from, largely from watching him, but he started to understand that I could be responsible with kayfabe and wanted to keep kayfabe and wanted to make it as real as possible. So he started letting me in on things that might happen. And so I was ready for him. And mainly he just taught me how to work kayfabe in the sport and to keep that integrity of the sport, and still, as far as I'm concerned, never break kayfabe. Never. It's real to me. I want it to be real to me because that's what makes it special. Being able to suspend your disbelief. I don't go to a Shakespeare performance to look at the costumes and critique whether the guy playing Hamlet has the right accent or whatever. I want to suspend my disbelief and believe that's Hamlet. And that's the only way to truly experience it, And so that's what made professional wrestling so special at the time, was that we suspended our disbelief. We believed, we all worked together, and it created something that was so intense, so exciting, that it has never happened since then. I would love to see the Real Wrestling Federation where we really wrestle. And
I wanted to ask you about that. If you would explain the Real Wrestling. I saw that on your LinkedIn, and I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, the concept of the Real Wrestling is we go back and we have real wrestling. We wrestle each other. Whoever wins, wins. The referees have control over it. There are rules you follow. If you hit somebody with a chair, you're disqualified. You lose. I'm sorry. And it would be real. So that's what I would like to see. I have not worked hard enough on trying to get it going, but that's the thing I would like to do, is be the commissioner of the Real Wrestling Federation and do it real.
I'd love it. And people still want to believe. And I'm going to give you a prime example, and a conversation I heard on the radio today, that even though I referee, I get it. And I was still uncomfortable that this is a debate now. Unfortunately, on the Money in the Bank pay-per-view this weekend, Damian Priest came down wrong. The count was made 1-2. He did not kick, there was no way that you could, there was no wiggle room. He was out.
Right.
And the referee stopped the count. And the debate was, if Vince was there, would the referee probably would have been fined or worse, because there was a time, even this is Bully Ray said that in WWE, the referees were told, you do it, it's on, because you're going to get in trouble if you don't. You call it like it is, regardless. But the discussion was, is there more concern about the story, or is there more concern about the presentation? Have they come to a point now where mistakes happen and they're going to move on from it and they'll never mention it again? But just the idea that not counting 3 could be that's not a requirement anymore. Maybe that because it would have really messed up their storylines and their plans had it happened. But the guy was out. It took him a second. He got a stinger, but to hear the conversation, but the fact that, and we're all dismissed as negative if we point it out, I for one would have been concerned with whether he was okay to continue.
Right.
But I've been in that position in the Indies. You don't want to count 3 and change a title that's not supposed to change. I get it. But the fact that you just showed everybody, and it's hard to move on from that, because now you have your disbelief's gone from that point on the rest of the show.
Everything's exposed then. So
I'm not criticizing. I guess I am criticizing, but I'm just more like, don't dismiss us that we're negative. It's because we want to believe, and in that moment we are believing. If something happens where we don't believe anymore, that's that egregious.
Well, I'm criticizing because that is disrespecting of the business. The sport. It's not a business, it's a sport. And and disrespecting the business in the middle of the ring happens in both of the big shows every week. And it makes it just about unwatchable for me because of where I've come from and what I know to be the best way to do it, which is kayfabe. So it just doesn't ring with me, especially with the cooperative extreme parkour that masquerades as professional wrestling largely now. And for us to even exist in professional wrestling now, we have to compromise our personal integrity around it, and it makes it very difficult for me to even watch stuff now.
I experience that a lot because I tend to watch wrestling. I watch it through the eyes of a referee.
Right.
So if the referee's just standing there and not counting, and it gets to me
well,
too. And
that's one of the biggest problems now is the referees are irrelevant.
yeah, they'll tell us like, hey, do this, this, and this. Give us a little leeway. And if you can work within the framework of the rules, and that's what makes the work.
Exactly.
But when we have to do, because we got to get our stuff in, and
right,
and it's normally stuff that you're kicking out of the stuff you shouldn't kick out of, and the stuff that that doesn't look good is what finishes you.
I know it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But I don't believe that they're aiming it for my 58-year-old demographic anymore.
No, but it's the booking. It's the booking. And especially in AEW, it's the booking. WWF, when Paul took back over from Crazy Vince, I liked it a little better, and so, but still, it's very frustrating for an old school guy like me, and but that's the nature of the sport now, and
the money piles on top, and the money pile just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's hard to argue against it.
Well, that's interesting because of who has bought WWE now,
right?
Because TKO, that's a shoot, bro. That's a shoot. So my hope is that because of that influence, we'll start moving back a little closer to shoot wrestling. We'll see if that can ever happen. We have to have better training of wrestlers, and then we have to retrain the fans as well, because smartness is everything to people now, which, as far as I'm concerned, that ruins everything.
Yeah, it's hard to put that genie back in the bottle now.
Right. And that's why the real wrestling may never happen. And that's why I've had a hard time finding investors to do it. I've got some wrestlers who are game to do that, but we'll see if it can ever happen. But yeah, you're right. The toothpaste is all over the floor now.
Well, let's talk about world class. One of my first questions is, I noticed I've been recently rewatching 1983. It's my favorite year of professional wrestling ever.
Mine too.
David Von Erich was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was, that was his best year. And the Von Erichs, the Freebird feud, you brought in Jimmy Garvin, you had the Iceman, Chris Adams came in. From top to bottom, your cards were, you liked what was going on in the main event, but you liked what was going on in the middle of the card. The sub feuds were just as good as the main event feuds. And the Von Erichs were all over the place because it wasn't just the Freebirds. David was with Garvin over the Texas title. So it was the Von Erichs versus everybody. And they made it make sense. They put the American belt on Terry Gordy, and just so happened Ric Flair was coming in February and Gordy got the shot. And then Kevin got the American belt back, and in April, Kevin got the shot. So it made sense that they went to the trouble of making it all make sense. And but I noticed some cosmetic changes to the Sportatorium right after Christmas, because after that cage door slammed, that's the shot heard around the world. That's when the business changed in Dallas.
Mhm.
I noticed the first few episodes you'd watch, and you could see a sign on the ring apron of the sportatorium: $25 fine for throwing objects. It was a city ordinance. And then I noticed quickly that from the hard camera side, that sign was gone. But then they'd shoot from the behind the ring, and you could still see it. So for a couple of weeks it took, but eventually those signs were gone. So was that part of the cosmetic appeal of cleaning up the sportatorium for what y'all were doing?
Well, it was a safety issue more than anything else, and
Well, definitely. But I mean, the only guardrail you had was a string. I mean, it was a string.
Exactly.
It was a string and respect that kept everybody out of the ring.
Totally. And believing that these guys would shove you through next week like Terry Gordy did that guy in the sportatorium who had the audacity to challenge him, and that was a shoot.
Yeah,
so
it didn't work out real. It didn't work out real good for them.
Alcohol's a hell of a drug, and they sell a lot of beer at the sportatorium. But
I talked a lot of trash to Buddy Roberts. I talked a little trash to Michael Hayes. I never once talked trash to Terry Gordy.
Well, because it was real, and he could throw you completely through the side door from the ring. So, and that's what made it great, because we were scared of those guys. I mean, it took me a while when Bruiser came to town. I was scared of him, and eventually I got to know him, and he was a fantastic human being. But man, when he would run roughshod through the sportatorium, people would clear out and
swing it. Sometimes he had a chain and he'd swing it, and
absolutely.
He's a good guy. And every time I saw him, he was a good guy.
Right.
But it was always an event for me to see Bruiser Brody. Always.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember every time I got to see him in person.
Well, he was a force of nature, and the respect to kayfabe gave him his power, and because he could hurt you if he wanted to, and so
even Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy sold it as a big deal. Like Kerry got Bruiser Brody to be his tag team partner, and they lost their mind.
Yep.
They weren't worried about Kerry Von Erich. They were worried about Bruiser Brody, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because they could sell, the art of selling is a lost art now. So, but when they would sell, you would believe it, and that was an essential part of kayfabe. And it was the reason why you hated Ric Flair so much, because when Rick came to town, people, when he would flip you over and do all of the stuff that he did, people would sell for him because it was stiff enough that they kind of had to. But everybody no sells, and you're right. Everybody no sells a freaking finishing move and kicks out at 1 and all of this stuff. So there's no discipline about that kind of thing anymore, and everybody's got to get all of their bits in. So they're worried about the next move. They're not worried about selling what just happened, because it should have incapacitated them for a few minutes. But
I think my most hated new trend that they're starting that is a thing now is you have to do each other's finish on each other 2 or 3 times before we ever get to the finish. I'm like, what the hell are we doing with this?
Like it's a slap in the face.
Yeah.
It's great. It's disrespecting the sport from the ring.
Another a huge innovation that y'all were doing on World Class is the vignette. And I got a few I want to ask you about. Okay, my first question. This is a break room at Channel 39, right?
Well, it was actually the boardroom. We did have it was a boardroom. The break room was like a kitchen thing. So this was more of a formal thing.
Okay.
But
I see the great big VCR back over here behind Akbar.
Absolutely. Old school all the way. But what makes this work is the guy on the right, Bill Mercer. He knew how to sell this as a shoot. He had incredible integrity, and he approached this as a shoot and sold it as a shoot, and he put the whole thing over with his personal integrity. And Bill Mercer was as important to world-class championship wrestling as Ric Flair or Kerry Von Erich or Michael Hayes or anybody, because having Bill there calling the show the way he did, just like he called the Dallas Cowboys. He was the radio voice of the Dallas Cowboys, and he called it right down the line, just like he was calling a National Football League show.
And he was a respected newsman. He actually covered the Kennedy assassination for KRLD Radio.
Absolutely.
So he had his feet in the legitimate broadcasting of news.
Absolutely.
And the radio voice of the Dallas Cowboys. So it was.
I think, Dan, what you're speaking to here is, if you just look at this picture in a vacuum, you've got a big fat bald guy over here with two Arabian-looking men, and it's kind of a funny joke, haha, but it's not with Bill there, because he can make anything a serious, this is important situation, is what you're kind of alluding to there.
Absolutely. It was. He made it real. That's how it works. So making it real is a lost art, but that's what happened here, you know. And
Akbar was, he was asking him about his plans for Devastation Incorporated. And Akbar was laying out that the great Kabuki, he has the Kabuki, Kamala the Ugandan Giants coming in. Devastation Incorporated has deep pockets. He was at one point even mentioned that he was going to pursue the world 6-man tag team belts and put Ric Flair on a team with King Kong Bundy and
Kamala?
Kabuki.
Oh, great, Kabuki.
It was Kabuki because Yatsu was with H&H.
Yeah. That
now,
would work.
The fellow that's there with Akbar, I saw him a few times. He's too small to be a wrestler. Is he just somebody that y'all could use as an extra?
Well, he was Akbar's guy. I'm not sure what their relationship was, but
he wasn't around long, is why I ask.
Right. No, he was just there to assist Scandor, you know, and so he was his personal secretary and helped him administrate Devastation Incorporated. He just added a little gravitas to the scene there.
Yeah, when Akbar came in and quickly disposed of Gary Hart and set his sights on Arman Hussein, which was crazy because it was heels attacking heels, which completely throws the formula out.
Right. But it was heels attacking heels to be the ascendant heels. Right. So they could, so it made sense.
You got kids at ringside trying to get autographs. They're not sure what side they're supposed to go to.
Right.
Now, this was a fun introduction to the Freebirds. Bill catches them, supposed to be at their house. They got a pool table. They're playing. And I'm looking at it and I'm wondering, is that Pugsley's library? Did y'all go on location to film any of these, or was that?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure whose house that was, but yeah, that was certainly a location. Bill Tinsley was the great cameraman that would go out and do those remotes, and once again, Bill puts it over, and Michael puts it over, and Terry and Buddy are totally in character, and it was kind of a shoot with them because they were who they were, and Michael was pretty much the way he was, and so
he was a showman, still is.
Absolutely. So it was kind of a shoot, pretty much a shoot there. I'm not sure whose house it was, but it was real and we could believe it.
There was a bar restaurant off of 35 over by the San Francisco Steakhouse, that area, and it was called Pugsley's Library. And because I saw because I saw that light up there in the pool table with the books on the shelf. I didn't know if that
That's
might
possible. That's possible. Some of the details from these many years ago are a little.
I imagine.
I know one thing. That's not Michael's house because there's no way he'd have that many books in his house. So we know
No.
that.
And I know Buddy wasn't reading all that. And then this one was fun because I know that this was Keller's on Harry Hines.
Yep.
That was easy to spot. I've been there a million times.
That's a classic.
But poor Bill, he just would go out and talk to him, and they'd stick him with the check, or
every time
they'd drive off. And it almost makes me wonder if some of the stuff Mean Gene did later was inspired by some of this.
Oh, without a doubt. The impact that we had on what came afterwards is immense.
We're back, and I loved this one because this is the way wrestling press conferences should still be handled today.
Absolutely.
They were taking questions. You could hear the people asking the questions.
Yep.
You got the multiple microphones set up. It was just Bundy playing with the money the whole time.
Of course.
But he was taking press conference questions, and I absolutely loved it. Now this one was a Kabuki vignette.
And we shot this over in Fort Worth in the Japanese gardens over there.
Botanical Gardens.
And we were doing, because it was music video time, so a lot of this was our music videos that we did. But this was a work of art. Bill shot some great footage, and we edited this together, and it got Kabuki over as the mysterious Oriental that he was.
I was scared of Kabuki.
Well,
I mean, for a long time, I was scared of Kabuki. Legit scared of Kabuki.
Well, you never knew what was in that green mist, man. So you didn't want to get any of that.
And that mask looked evil. And I had this narrowed down to either the Fort Worth Botanical Gardens or Benihana's in Turtle Creek.
Now, this was in Fort Worth, but here you go.
This was innovative for the time.
Right.
The split screen promos.
Right. It's like we had a satellite link up going, and we were able to have banter and repartee between the two guys. So this was like real news looked at the time. It looks archaic now, but at the time it was very modern.
Very. Good friend of the show, Lance Peterson, said that this was from 1984. And his question, Lance Peterson, we call him the world-class historian. If y'all follow him over on Twitter, SMU Heavyweight, he's
right.
If there's something I need to know, I normally ask Lance.
Right.
And this guy was supposed to be from the NWA, an NWA representative. And he asked me if there was any way, if you had any living idea who that guy was.
Well, he was an NWA representative, and he also was the production manager at Channel 39. That's Earl Goodrick, who was a fantastic guy, a great leader, and he was deputized by the NWA to come in there and handle that. And I was glad that he stepped up and took that responsibility.
He's looking pretty dapper right there. Looks good in that suit.
Absolutely. He was a wonderful man, and he was the guy that got us all the gigs doing the other sports and everything. So he was very important to me and my development as a live television production technician and live television director. And he was very supportive of me. He and Mickey Grant ran the show. Mickey was the creative guy, and Earl was more of the nuts and bolts. He got the truck to the right place at the right time with the right amount of cameras and all of that stuff. So, but I love seeing Earl, wonderful guy. yeah, I was proud that he took responsibility and stepped up for the NWA in this.
Now this was a promo that the general was conducting. Bill Mercer sat in the arena at the very top of the aisle where the bad guys came down.
Right.
Did that present a problem trying to tape a promo during a show with the fans being very vocal? Because I noticed we started going to a lot of either before the crowd was there or after the crowd left.
Right.
Yes. I just
Yes.
wondered if that presented a problem with shooting.
Yes,
with
of
shooting
course.
promos.
The audio was always a challenge. We did have, he's micing him close there so we could get it, but that's why you do pre-tapes, because you can control them better. But there's nothing like the excitement of a live interview like that, and especially when it is setting up whatever the next thing is, and it gets the crowd involved. And so most of the time we were shooting these shows in synchronistic order. So it was like we were shooting a show. We would shoot 2 shows every other week. And so we were kind of doing them in order so they would make more sense to us. But yeah, the technical problems were definitely there as far as the audio goes.
And then my probably y'all's crown jewel, Ballet for a Day.
Yep. That was incredibly special. It was actually out at a Von Erich Ranch. I'm not sure if that was whose that was, but it was definitely on Von Erich property, and it was a shoot. We put them to work. That is real dirt, real sweat. That's a great one too. I'm not
that
sure.
Was that in a hot tub store?
Was it? It
Like
could have been at a store. It might have been at a hotel. I'm not sure exactly where that was too. I wasn't on all of these shoots.
Okay.
We'd send Bill out, and
there was also a place called Executive Tub Club where you could go rent hot tubs, and I thought that might have been. I mean, I'm just fascinated by where these things were shot.
Yeah, no, it was. We always did really good locations for these, so that they were real, and it made a big difference. I mean, we went all the way to Los Angeles to shoot the Freebirds out there, and shot their mansion in Beverly Hills, and. But there you are here. I mean, this is a shoot. Sunshine works hard for her money. As one of our great music videos showed. But yeah, this is commitment, people, to the gimmick, for God's sake. These people were totally into it. And that's what got it over, because they were committed. And they were doing real work, and they were really sweating. It was hot as hell that day. They were really in the dirt. And so that's what got it over as real. And I don't know if anybody is that committed anymore.
No, it was, I know as a fan, that was just so glad to see Jimmy Garvin finally get his. felt sorry for Sunshine though.
Yes.
But 17-year-old Dave had a bit of a crush.
As did we all. No, she was wonderful to work with. As you could tell, she did everything that we ever asked her to do, both in the ring and out of the ring. And all of that, the valets and everything were so much more committed to all of this. And we were able to spend a little more time on the production too. I mean, it was just a 1 hour show every week. And it took a lot of editing to put that together. And we had a really fantastic editor named Norman Jones, and that worked at Channel 39. And we had just gotten a brand new computer controlled, frame accurate editing system that revolutionized everything. It took me months to figure out, what do you mean you can match in, and we don't have to go and roll all of this back together like we have always had to do. But it made a huge difference. But we still had a lot of editing to do. But that's Norman Jones was responsible for making the show look network quality. And so when it was syndicated around the world, it stood up to anything that WWE was doing or anybody anywhere. So it was just such a incredible coming together of the greatest wrestling and the most fantastic production crew. And it just made magic. And for me to be able to direct that was such an honor. And really, the reason I'm famous is because of all these people that I worked with. And when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame, my Hall of Fame speech was all about the people that I owed for getting me to that point, because it was a team effort. And I was just, my timing was exquisite.
Well, there's something else that you're very famous for directing. Back in the day, this was the first wrestling merchandise I bought, was a Bad Street USA t-shirt.
Absolutely. Because that was the first rock and wrestling music video in history.
And we're not talking about watching Jerry Lawler beat up people to Willie and the Ham Jive, or Kerry Von Erich riding a horse to I Need a Hero.
Well, we were already doing all of that.
So, I mean, he's talking about a legitimate rock and roll video.
Absolutely.
And I didn't put the sound on because I didn't really know who I'd get a cease and desist from. So
no, you would be fine. I know Jimmy Papa personally, and this is the director's cut.
And I didn't put the entire video
there
on.
it
I just
is.
did some snips. But this is the thing. When you watch this, folks, there was another video that came out at this time called Thriller that was filmed a lot like this.
Absolutely.
I love the black and white. This reminds me of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. Day of the
Absolutely.
Dead. Night of the Living Dead. But you saw Hayes, you saw some thugs outside, and then Hayes hit the scene a little later. Now he's going full rocker here.
Well, this was a huge film shoot. We shot this on 16 millimeter film, and here's all the punks, man. We had
and Terry knocking the doors off of the hinges is not at all.
Well, that's Mark Von Zennick, the guy in front with the mohawk, who was a famous punk rocker in Dallas at the time. And somebody should have told those boys about Bad Street USA.
I loved that. He jumped over and he was. That's
a Norman Jones edit.
Now we got, now we've come back into it. We've let Bam Bam up on the mic. You got Buddy back here playing guitars. They're telling everybody last house on the left.
Bad Street, baby, every time. No, and that was huge. It was revolutionary at the time. As we said, it was the first one. And it was big in mainstream. We actually won the next year. Buddy Magazine was the Texas State Rock and Roll magazine. And there was a vote, a contest for the Texas Music Video of the Year. And we won the Texas Music Video of the Year. because of that. And there was a great Buddy Awards ceremony, and Don Henley actually played the gig, and I got to ride up to our room upstairs in the elevator with Don, and got to explain to him that I had gone to high school just north of where he had gone to high school in East Texas, and that I was proud of both of us for escaping East Texas. But that's how big Bad Street USA was. It was huge. And you're right. It did. In fact, because of Bad Street USA, shortly thereafter, I was hired away by a music video production company in town called Telemusic Incorporated, and became a part owner of that. And if Warner Brothers hadn't screwed us on a deal that we did with Devo, we'd still be in business doing music video. But Bad Street USA was an incredible experience. I'd like to come back sometime and go through it in more depth. But yeah,
There's
it was
nothing that would make me happier.
It was a huge shoot at the time. It was literally, we spent 24 hours. We started early in the morning at the studios out at Las Colinas and shot the concert sequence. And then we went to the location, which was in near North Dallas, in a real old neighborhood that was a couple of weeks from being demolished to make way for the gentrification expansion of North Dallas. They built giant skyscrapers where Bad Street USA was. And we shot all night to get all of those shots. And thank God for Jacqueline Cummings. She was my script manager, and she made sure that I got all the shots that we needed. And so we had everything that we needed. But we finished up as the sun was coming up the next day. And so it was an incredible shoot. And that crew was a bunch of superstars as well. But it did, it's a legendary thing. And even today, 40 years later, I still am proud of it. You know, it looks a little dated somewhat, but what doesn't? We all look dated from 40 years ago.
There's Lance with some behind the scenes world-class historian. Pick the guys St. Patrick's Day, night 84 at Zebo's. Zebo's is a blast from the past.
Without a doubt.
On Northwest Highway.
Well, whoever scheduled all of this was insane, because Friday night we shot 2 WCCW shows. And then after that, we went to Zebo's and we had the contest, the punk contest. So we didn't get out of there picking the punks until 2 in the morning or so. And we had to be at the film studio at 6 in the morning after that, and then go for 24 hours after that. We were all young and dumb and perhaps artificially assisted by Peruvian marching powder, but those were the 80s, and it was all incredibly fun and exciting. And no, that's all super historic and crazy. But that's how crazy it was back then.
If there's any of y'all that haven't seen Bad Street USA, I encourage you to go over to YouTube, search Bad Street USA. You can find
the director's cut. Yeah,
Dan's
Bad Street USA, the director's cut. Yeah, and it has
the director's cut.
It's because it's got all of the. I mean, you don't have to watch all of the credits at the end, but it has everybody who worked on it, and it takes almost as long to roll the credits as the blasted music video takes. But that was the file we used for the premiere show, for the premiere of the music video that happened the night of the Texas Stadium show. So we had the Texas Stadium show, we had the belt change hands in Texas Stadium in front of 40,000 incredible fans. And then we all piled into champagne filled limousines and drove over to a North Dallas music video bar and had an incredible premiere. And that was one of the greatest days of my life.
Oh, wow.
So Dave, let me ask you, or both of you all. So when it premiered, how else were you able to see this video, Dave? Did you have to record it on your VCR or like?
Yeah, they put it on World Class. We didn't
And
have.
then
I mean,
you
it wasn't. I don't believe it ever made it onto. It never made it onto MTV.
No, unfortunately not. They were too snooty to put professional wrestling on until Cyndi Lauper did her thing, and I love her. She was actually at the Christmas show in '83 at Reunion Arena. They were her and Dave Wolf, her less than I'm not a fan. Her heel boyfriend, let's just put it that way, who was also her Svengali at the time. But they met with us backstage at Reunion Arena to talk about doing a rock and wrestling music video. And she couldn't have been nicer. She was wonderful, super down to earth, very cool with me. Ultimately, they did what they did, and it was great. And great exposure. They chose the wrong federation to do it, but Lou Albano was great as her dad, and it was great exposure for the sport. But I wish we'd have been able to make that deal. I was not privy to any of the negotiations, but I think it was probably Dave Wolf that was the fly in the ointment for us getting that.
Well, I know that I had the record, I had the album, I had the cassette, I had the anything, because they sold it all at the merch stand. But they also, but you could also get at Sound Warehouse.
Oh yeah.
And I went to Sound Warehouse a lot. I would not be surprised if you could have got it at Peaches. Those were the big two at the time.
Absolutely. In Dallas, you could. It was available everywhere. Jimmy Papa did a good job of getting that released in a wide distribution. And still, I believe you can get all of this merch if you. Jimmy should have a merch site on the internets somewhere. I should have done some research on that to do his promotion. But when I come back on and we do a deep dive into it, then we can get into that and sell some merch too. But it's still available, and don't buy the stuff off of
Redbubble.
Yeah, whatever it is. There's a lot of counterfeit merch out there, but you want to get the original logo. And if you go to Jimmy's side, you can get the one with the quote on the back and all of that stuff too. So, Bad Street USA lives.
I was going to say, do you have any idea?
Radio play. It did get radio play on 97.1 The Eagle.
Oh yeah. Because
the Eagle recognized the popularity of pro wrestling, and they did a talk show every Sunday night. It was just going to be like a talk show that was going to do different topics every Sunday night, but it rapidly became wrestling every Sunday night.
Do you have any idea how many records you might have sold, like at the merch stand, like in 83, 84? Like, do you have any idea how many you sold, or just? I'm just curious.
I don't really know the numbers. It was thousands, though. Thousands, literally.
Isn't that cool? That's so cool.
both the record and both the vinyl and the cassette. So
you could get the whole Off the Street album, or you could get I want to say I had 45 of it.
Yeah. That was how it was mainly distributed. Yeah.
And it was, but it was so good that they'd listen to Bad Street USA and then start booing, and then keep booing the Birds. And it also made the Birds really cool, where it got to a point where there was a lot of these in the crowd, and the Von Erichs were catching some boos. It kind of shifted there after this for a while.
Well, that was the greatest feud in wrestling history, I contend. There's no heat ever again that was like the heat of that thing. And when the cage door slammed, everything changed, and it was like a nuclear bomb went off at WCCW because our heat went up exponentially, and it was just incredible. And if we hadn't lost Dave, who knows what would have happened? He would have been the NWA champion. It would have gone back and forth between him and Rick, and the sky's the limit at that point. And so if he had taken care of himself and not felt like he had to go make that shot in Japan, everything would have been different. But it was legit. His gut, it was enteritis, and he was in pain for a long time, but he was working so much he didn't want to stop and do anything about it, and it killed him. It wasn't drugs. Screw all of y'all, all of the stories. It was intestinal enteritis, and it was heartbreaking. And it began a Shakespearean fall that, as we saw from the movie recently, is still a powerful story to be told.
Were you able to enjoy the movie?
It was weird because I lived it, you know, and so I was always, it made me feel weird watching it. And then when things were changed around to make them fit in the script, that was uncomfortable. And having Chris completely written out of the whole movie was weird.
I think that they combined Chris and Kerry.
Yeah.
Because that version, the guy, Kerry was not portrayed as the nice guy that everybody loved.
Right.
And I know that Chris did not get along with everybody as well as Kerry did. And
right.
Because I'll never in a million years believe that Kerry showed up at Christmas with a rat to go to Mexico and skip the family and cuss his dad out for not opening his present. I don't believe that.
Right. Well, there's a lot of stuff that was poetic license,
Right.
as we should say, to make the script fit in 2 hours or whatever, and it was people outside of that experience that put it together. And I know that Kevin had a lot to do with it. And as far as telling Kevin's story, I think that was very accurate. And so,
If
in
nothing
that
else,
regard,
we know that those boys loved each other.
Oh, without a doubt, and the dynamic between them and their dad was so fraught with so much psychological complications. You know, the expectations, because Fritz was super old school kayfabe. And for him to get into the business, he paid a huge price to be accepted in the business. You got stretched mercilessly back then, and only a few people were able to survive to make it to where they could even get in the ring. So it was totally different, and he was old school like that. He wanted the boys to pay the price. We were transitioning into the new era, and so there were so many psychological things that came together there that caused the pressure on the boys that was just unsustainable for them. And then, there was the availability of painkillers and all of that stuff became different then as well. And so it facilitated the tragedies that happened. And so it was just a sign of the times. And it was a heartbreaking thing to live through. but it was what it was, and the movie kind of caught what it was, but you'll never understand how intense it was without having been there. And I was so blessed to have been there. You know, it's made it shaped the rest of my life completely, and it enabled me to work with superstars. Ted Turner hired me to go to Atlanta. I directed World Championship Wrestling Saturday Night for 6 years. I got to work with Ric Flair a lot more. And I got to work intimately with one of my best friends of all time, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And, you know, just the experience of that was so incredible. And then to have the opportunity later to get the call from Jim Cornette and Gary Juster inviting me to go to Baltimore and create Ring of Honor TV. That was such a blessing and so exciting in spite of all of the difficulties that Sinclair Broadcast Corporation put on it. Still, that was an incredible locker room. Those guys that I worked with are the stars of the business now. Mm-hmm. And Ring of Honor was where champions were made. And so it was kind of a throwback for me to the good old days, because those guys were working so hard, and we were selling it hard. And then also going to Major League Wrestling was a blessing too, because I got to work with Dr. Nelson Swegler, who was the director of production during my time with MLW. And he was the guy that was the brains behind moving WWE Productions from Baltimore up to good old Connecticut. And he was the production manager during that transition. And so and once again, Swerve Strickland was our champion there, and he's the champion at AWE now, and he was a wonderful champion for us. So my time at WCW set me up for all of this that made my life so special, and I can't thank everybody every step along the way for everything they did to help me get to where I am, and to be able to talk with y'all about it today. It's a huge blessing, and I am so thankful that I've gotten to do it, and I have these memories that are priceless.
Can you? I'm going to get you out of here because I've had you a long time, and I appreciate it. But Justin wasn't on with us when we were talking before we went on the air, and you shared a story from WCW with me about Stu Hart.
Oh yeah,
and
that's another.
My friend Justin would love to hear this.
Well, that's an Owen shirt on right now.
Oh, it's even better that you wore Owen.
There you go. And I was blessed to work with Owen. Owen Hart is one of the finest men I ever worked with. And so he had a cup of coffee at WCW, and I was blessed to be able to go out and produce some feature material that we were shooting with him. So I got to go to Calgary, and with Owen, we went to his schools and talked to his coaches and teachers and saw the high school gym and all of that stuff. And then we went up on the mountain to Stu's house that looked down on Calgary. It was an incredible spread, and I got to meet Owen's mom and his sisters, and so special. And then we went down to the legendary dungeon where Stu taught so many people. He taught his boys, and I was not smart enough at the time to understand what was going to happen. But if you were down there, you had to watch out, and I wasn't watching out.
You're in the danger zone if you're down there.
So Stu got behind me, and he grabbed me and put me into a full Nelson. He said, "Kid, let me show you something here." And he said, "All right, now if I put pressure right here like this, And I started blacking out because that's a legit move, and it cuts out in the carotid artery there, and you start losing blood to your brain. And so I started screaming like a little bitch at the time because I knew that I'd heard the stories about if you are rendered unconscious, that you lose control of your bowels, and I did not want that to happen. And so I was screaming, "Oh, and get you!" I was saying, "Stu, I believe you don't have to prove anything to me." And Owen eventually got him off of me, and
Hey,
so
we got a screamer.
Oh yeah, oh without a doubt. Oh, I was the guy that Stu was looking out for to make an example of, and he did me. And I survived that. But the next morning, I legit had blood blisters that circled my
Around your
eyes,
face,
both of my
yeah.
eyes. I looked like I'd been punched in the face because wrestling was real. And Stu showed me, but I was already a believer. He didn't have to show me, but I experienced it. So I was
That's
literally
pretty awesome.
stretched by Stu Hart in the dungeon. One of my proudest accomplishments.
There you go.
And luckily, I was telling Dave, I hope that tape did not get preserved when the library was sold to WWE, because otherwise there is video evidence of me being a little bitch and screaming with Stu stretching me. But hey, I was selling because it was real.
Well, maybe if WWE can ever mend that fence and can do some stuff for Owen, maybe it'll reemerge.
That would be great. That would be great because I loved Owen. It was wonderful to work with him, and their incredible irresponsibility when that happened. I mean, I've always been an NWA guy. The WWE has always been a hated rival. When Vince broke kayfabe, I hated him, and I still do to this day, and not the least of which because of what he allowed to happen to Owen. And so NWA is the only way, people, period.
I've always said that Vince McMahon will always be the villain in my wrestling story.
Without a doubt.
He took my heroes and he made them silly gimmicks.
He always did. He destroyed, he made Dusty wear polka dots, for God's sake.
My brother's 8 years
Dustin
younger.
be Goldust.
My brother was 8 years younger and he liked it, but I was too old to like it. And
Dan, I think my favorite's what he did with Terry Taylor. That's the best one, I think. Out of the whole thing.
The Red Rooster. Yeah. I mean, and Terry was a wonderful guy too. What a worker. Incredibly generous with young guys. I love Terry. And yes, of course, every NWA guy that Vince ever had, he purposefully destroyed. And he kept going. Because when I was at ROH, we worked with some Japanese guys, and I was honored to work with Nakamura, who at the time, as far as I was concerned, was the greatest wrestler going. And when he went to WWE, I said, Vince is going to destroy him. And he did. Nakamura never got the opportunity that he should have had. He never got to show what he could do. And that was Vince, because Vince is a shoot heel. We have found this out later. Vince is a shoot heel. He is worthy of our hatred.
Well, that's why that Attitude Era did so well, Dan, because when things are real, it works.
I guess you got a good point there, Justin.
Absolutely.
So it works good on TV.
Well, absolutely. He was a shoot. He is a shoot heel, and that's why it worked.
My final question for you, because you worked for WCW for so many years, and who killed WCW has been a hot topic with the documentary that just came out. There's been so much speculation. Guy Evans wrote a book interviewing anybody and everybody that was there. So, in your opinion, who killed WCW?
Terry Bollea, because when he came, it became an all heel show, and it was run by the inmates at that time. And so everything went to hell after that. And in fact, Terry's the reason I left WCW and went to PGA Tour Productions, because talk about shoot heels. Terry Bollea is a shoot heel. I wasn't going to get into this. He's just gotten married, but I had an acrimonious relationship with him from the beginning. I got in trouble. He was still a baby face, and I was the last booking meeting I ever got to go to, I was in, and they were talking about him clotheslining Sherry Martel, and I was still kayfabe enough to say, man, I don't think a baby face should be clotheslining a woman. And the next day, I was brought into Eric Bischoff's office, and he told me to leave my social conscience at the door, and I never got to go to another booking meeting. And that's when I decided I got to get the hell out of here. And so when we were in Jacksonville for a pay-per-view, and I stole one of the rental cars, and I put on a tie and a suit, and I went and I met with the vice president of television at PGA Tour Productions down in Ponte Vedra Beach, and came back and directed that pay-per-view. And the vice president of PGA Tour Productions looked at me and said, all you've done is wrestling. Why would I hire you? And, I said, well, because I love golf too. And I proceeded to have to call him every week for 9 months until he actually gave me a job. But that was motivated by Terry being there, and everything started going to hell when he got there, and people really hate to hear that Terry Bollea is a shoot heel. He is a narcissist personality disordered sociopath. I'm going to catch a bunch of crap on the internet for saying it again. But
you've already said it before? You've said it before?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
Man, I just wonder if you were one of the first people to tell him that he wrestled like a heel as a babyface, because he always did in WWE. He wrestled like a heel as a babyface in WWE, and you might have been one of the first people to say, isn't this kind of stupid if you're a babyface to be clotheslining a woman taking her head off?
Well, I was too old school with kayfabe, baby faces and heels were going out the door in that period, and basically it was an all heel deal. And if it's not the Shakespearean or arc of the baby face never breaking the rules, always and getting beaten down over and over and over by the heel who cheats until it's time for the world championship match or whatever, and in spite of all the heel cheating, the baby face wins. He doesn't cheat. He wins by having integrity. That's what makes it happen.
Right.
If that dynamic is not there, it's not professional wrestling.
In 1992, Flair won the Royal Rumble because Hogan was heeling, cheating after he already got through out, trying to pull Sid out.
I know, man. I know. So I was too old school for the time, and I left of my own volition. Eric Bischoff was torturing me by keeping me there, and he said, "Man, because the word got out that I was trying to go to PGA Tour Productions." He said, "Man, they're never going to hire you from wrestling." So I proved him wrong again. And Eric and I in Nashville, we settled our disputes, and we have found a mutual respect. I respect Eric for everything that he did. He was out of control at the time, but weren't we all? and now in retrospect, he and I are good friends again. And so God bless Eric Bischoff for everything he did. And frankly, me going to the PGA Tour, it gave me 6 of the best years of my life too. So it all worked out great for me. And but you know, my time at WCW was great because there was money for everything, and we had a whole company building sets. We had a whole graphics department building graphics. We had as great as the crew at WCCW was, the crew at TBS Sports, and I had all TBS Sports guys. They were shooting baseball and basketball, and they were all world-class professionals, but they got into wrestling. They loved working with me. Me directing live is kind of an ongoing stream of consciousness comedy show as well to keep everybody engaged. And so we had an incredibly good time, and sitting in a TBS truck, which was state of the art, with a TBS crew that was state of the art. It was like driving a Cadillac every day. So my time with them was so incredibly special. I still got a lot of great friends from that. Keith Mitchell was our production director at WCW. Keith Mitchell was my producer at WCCW. And the first job I had at Channel 39, when I came in, I was the camera assistant at the Mesquite Rodeo for the camera guy behind the chutes where the Bulls and the Broncos came out. So literally, I was hauling camera cable through fresh manure. That was my first broadcast television job. And that cameraman was Keith Mitchell.
Wow.
So Keith was with me from the beginning. He protected me at Channel 39. He kept me in that job for a while when maybe I'd done some things that were a little too crazy. And he also protected me in Atlanta for as long as he could before my big mouth got me in trouble again. But Keith Mitchell was one of the most important parts of my career because he was always there for me, and I love him like a brother. He's still a very good friend of mine. Saw him in Nashville. He ran the show for Ric Flair's final match, and he's one of the greatest wrestling producers of all time. Without him, AEW wouldn't have been anything in the beginning. So Keith got them over in the beginning, and I'm glad that he was able to retire. Some of us will never retire. We'll be sitting in the director's chair. We'll go fade to black, and we'll fade to black face down live on the air. But all of these people have been so instrumental in my career, and everybody who I ever worked with, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Well, Dan, we appreciate you. Have I got this right? In 84, 85, the local news once interviewed Dan talking about wrestlers being wrestling gods.
Oh yeah. That was Channel 4. And I was on the Real News. They were talking about rock and wrestling and how big wrestling was. And I talked about how to fans, wrestlers were their heroes that were standing up to evil. And because of that, they became more than sports figures. They became like gods. Mm-hmm. And so we need to find that video. It exists out there somewhere. That's one of my great interviews that I pulled off. It was out at Las Colinas, at the film studios at Las Colinas. And so, because in kayfabe, wrestlers were like gods.
Well, we can't thank you enough
I feel
for
like
your
Lance
time.
would have that.
He probably does. He probably does. I'm going to have to get with him because
I bet he does.
I had a bunch
Yeah, I
of
was going to say, I
stuff
bet he
that
has that.
I had a bunch of stuff that I lost in a house fire in East Texas. So a lot of my archives went up in smoke, literally. So I'm gonna have to get with Lance, and there is my beloved brother Terry McEachern, who I love too. He's a fellow Widespread Panic fan and a fellow wrestling aficionado. And Terry, God bless you. He's one of my biggest fans, and I'm one of his biggest fans. Thank you, hero. Thank you.
Well, I'm one of your biggest fans, and I'm proud to call you my friend. And I can't thank you enough for the time that you've given us tonight. And I'm 100% going to take you up on this Bad Street USA deep dive.
Absolutely. And
we
can talk about the movie anytime. Y'all just let me know, because anything for a fellow Hall of Famer.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Pro wrestling's better that you were a part of it, and I'm watching it every week. And I'm going to start watching
that show. I now that I know that's on, I'm going to see what's up.
I'm enjoying it, and it's just and because of your involvement, I'm watching and I'm noticing the improvements to Sportatorium, the way it's being shot. It's just you're brilliant, and we're all better in the wrestling space because of you.
Well, God bless y'all. It's been an honor to be with you, and it's been an honor to be in the sport.
Well, thank you so much, Dan. Dan Bynum, everybody.
Thank you, Dan. Lance has got the VHS tape, he said so.
Oh, good. All right. Lance, hook up with me. I'll email you, son. Appreciate you. Lance and I need to do a show.
Yeah, no kidding.
He's got one. He's got one.
Okay.
They've watched every episode from that's been on Peacock. They did the whole thing. They've gone back and they've started over.
Well, God bless them. Thank you for doing that. And I'm available. So give me a call. And anybody that's interested in the Real Wrestling Federation, call me up. There's something there. Something there. I think that could be fantastic, because
I'm hoping this happens.
There are fans, because listen, the numbers back when wrestling was real, the total number of people that watched wrestling dwarfs what is watching wrestling now. The number of people that were watching TBS and WWE dwarfs the numbers now. So there are fans out there that went away because they were in. So so there's a fan base out there. So somebody come help me do that. I want to do it. It would be great.
Looking at you, billionaire Connie.
There you go. I'm available.
Awesome. Well,
all right.
We wish you the best of luck with it. I hope it takes off. It's something I'd definitely like to see.
Right.
And because I came from an era where I kind of knew, but I didn't. Like, oh, that's crap. But that guy's real.
Yeah.
Oh, that was real. And then you go to work the next day and talk about what Terry Gordy did to Killer Khan, and there was no way he was so off script for that. I mean, so
yeah.
I
that stuff got out of control, and that devolved into a shoot often.
Yeah. Oh. Well, thank you, Dan. Take care, my friend.
Yes, thank you.
Peace, y'all.
Bye-bye.
That's okay. When Dan comes back on, I just thought of a question. How many real shoot fights have you saw in the backstage area in your time back there? That'd probably be a good one to ask him next time he comes on. That was fun.
Yes, it was. Man, I'm on cloud nine. If we didn't have this Bad Street USA thing that's going to come up, I'd say we just shut it down now. We're never going to top tonight.
Well,
but onward and upward, we're going to keep going.
That might be something, a deep dive into the Bad Street video might be something fun to do over on the Ram Network.
Oh, well, yeah, it might. And we talked about it, but it'd be something that'd be fun to do here too.
We could do it here too.
Man, I watched that video 3 times today. I mean, I'm walking around the house with the further down the block.
He's
you
walking around the house
battery
with a
guy.
Tiffy is what he was walking around with, I think.
Oh man,
Amy, you're on mute, by the
Amy's
way.
on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry, I unplugged my mic earlier too. I was just going to say, I love talking to those people that really are the flies on the wall in the background and doing those behind the scenes, the production, you know, the directing, or, you know, even like Dave Pinzer, he just did whatever anybody told him to do. But like, they're just taking in all these great stories and they're watching all this go on behind the scenes, and then they come and get to tell us about it. And I think he is fascinating. You just can tell he has about a 130 million stories that are
Oh
just
yeah,
all
we didn't
as
scratch.
good as each other, you know?
We did not scratch the surface tonight. Heck,
No.
I talked to him for 30 minutes before we got started.
Yeah. I had some
I mean,
WCW questions I wanted to ask, and we didn't even get close to getting
Yeah,
to them. So but I'm glad that he's wanting to come back on
Yeah,
with us, 'cause
I'll
we got a lot
definitely-
more to touch on.
we'll definitely get him back on again because. But y'all knew I was going to go along on WCCW. Y'all
Oh, I
knew.
know.
oh, well,
Yeah.
that's fine. Well,
But I mean,
yeah.
it's just
I had some questions about Halloween Havoc 94, but we will save that
well,
for
we
the
get it
next
for next
go.
time. But you know what we're going to do
Definitely.
next?
It's time for Amy's trivia. Think you have the facts? Let's play and see.
Yeah. So I decided to do trivia on Money in the Bank. Since we just watched that this past Saturday, I wanted to find some information. I thought it was a pretty good show. What did y'all think?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. You
I
know,
didn't understand why Braun Breaker lost.
that's
I
the
don't-
only I had a problem with that.
And then he
Uh,
goes like, what, 15 minutes with what was the dude's name last night? Dragunov? Or, you know, like,
Yeah.
I don't
For
know.
the
I
second
don't like
time in the
that.
last 3 weeks, him and
Well,
Dragunov on Raw.
I didn't
I
agree with
just don't
that. I
like
thought
that
that
at all.
I thought that he should have. I thought that he should have destroyed Sami Zayn. Honestly,
I don't
Right.
think he should ever lose. He should be like Goldberg.
Right. And
he got so much, and I didn't understand the booking there on that. And then I talked about the 3 count that wasn't.
right.
Yeah,
I'm
that was
glad Damian
awful.
Priest's okay.
Well, and unfortunately for them, I mean, the camera was right there because it was a very pivotal time. So
Dave,
it's
what do you
very
do
obvious,
there?
you
If
know?
you
Count
don't know, if you
Hey,
don't know that
okay,
he's
here's
hurt,
what I'm gonna tell you. You count it because it's
Even
called
if you know, even
because
if
it's
you know
called
all that
working.
stuff.
It's called
Right.
working because you counted. There's a reason he didn't kick out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, they got plans, and you can figure out how to get those plans back on. And it probably would have caused a huge nightmare because if he
Right.
lost, he's got to quit the Judgment Day.
and nobody would have known what to do as soon as the bell rang. Everyone would have just
No,
stood
as
there
soon
like
as
deer
well,
in
that's the thing about
headlights.
working. Things go wrong, you work through them.
Right.
You get 2 wrestlers that rehearse their match verbatim, and they get out there in the ring, and something goes wrong, and you can tell they got lost.
Right.
But when wrestlers go out there and they work and they play off the crowd and they can improvise, because sometimes crap happens. Crap happens in the wrestling
you
business.
step
And
in
we've
it.
always heard Bruce say that it's not ballet.
Right.
Yes, it would have caused a huge problem. And in this day and age, I mean, what you do though is he counts at 3. Seth Rollins is champion. You send Drew McIntyre out.
Mm-hmm.
I wish
What's the worst? What is the downside with Seth being the champion? Because yeah, you're trying to build him up with Punk a little bit, and the stipulation is Seth can't challenge for the championship again because he
Right.
lost. It doesn't matter as long as Damian Priest is champion. And do you honestly think that after SummerSlam against Gunther that he's still going to be champion?
No.
So that stipulation's off. Also,
Mhm.
what would be the worst possible? Why would it be so bad that Seth Rollins goes into SummerSlam against Gunther? Because you know that's going to be a banger.
Mm-hmm.
Crap happens. He should have counted 3.
Okay.
But that being said, that man did not want to torpedo plans.
Yeah.
And I will tell you from experience that I have been in the ring in a title match with big time stipulations if so and so lost.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, and I didn't count the 3. Now, the guy was moving his arm. I could sell that he moved his shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
but I should have counted 3. I've done it. I've been there. I didn't want to change a title that wasn't supposed to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mad at myself about it. There's not a lot of times I get mad at myself. There'd been another time in a tag team match that I really got mad at myself for counting to 3 when I shouldn't have. But, and my thinking that night is if I don't count this 3, that these goofs aren't going to be able to figure out how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be really bad.
Yeah, that's what
That
I
was
was
a
talking
legitimate
about. Like
thought.
if they would have done it here, what everyone would have had to try and figure out how to react.
This
to
could have been fixed. This could have been 1, 2, 3. Seth won.
Yeah.
Here comes
Mhm.
Dane. Here comes. I mean, you could have told Drew to go out there and take it off of him.
I just like it that wrestling referees mess up just like us basketball referees do.
Well, no referee.
People
wants
yell
to-
at us the whole time for messing up.
The
But I'm pretty sure that-
the pressure of messing up a finish, and it would have had ripples.
Yeah.
But
But technically, that ref did not mess up in the sense of,
no, he was. Doing
it's
what
not
he was
like,
supposed to do.
yeah. I like you said, I mean, and it wasn't like there was people on the outside. Unfortunately, you know,
he
I agree.
kicked out. He kicked. I mean, he could have been. He kicked out. He barely kicked out, but he got it.
Yeah.
I mean, now you just don't show a replay of it.
yeah,
Was
no, and they
there
don't.
was there time for the referee or Seth to kind of say, "Hey, are you good?" before we start the counting? Could we have done that?
Yeah, he could have asked him when he hit. You good?
Are we sure that that is what, I mean, Damian Priest had just
Yeah, he got his bell rung.
got his bell rung a little bit?
Yeah, because
I didn't know if the music was supposed to interrupt the
no,
count.
you
in a
don't,
sense,
music
or
does not
was it-
interrupt the count. You're
Well, but
playing
you
your
know,
music.
They
You're-
could have. They
it
could
doesn't
have
interrupt the
acted like
count.
Seth could have jumped up and not be covering him.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
The
That's
music
what I
might
meant.
interrupt a count on Wednesday night, but it don't interrupt a count on Monday night and Friday night.
If the ref just slides in there and says, "Are you good?" and he gets no response, he could then get Seth up and say, "I need to check on him,"
You
and
could.
then that saves the whole spot. Is my point, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
But Seth was working. What? Because he knew he didn't kick out.
Right.
So Seth may have made the situation work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean,
What are you gonna do?
it was just
You know what?
mistakes happen.
They're not robots, and this
unfortunate.
is not a cartoon, and mistakes are going to be made, and that's just the reality. It has happened for years, and it'll continue to happen because people are not perfect.
And-
Exactly.
And here in a little bit, it'll be gone. I mean,
Yeah. I want to get a question.
but I
in.
mean, today you
Oh.
had to hear.
I mean, they could spin it.
That would have been the
that'd
story
be
to
a
go
good way
to.
to work out of
That
it.
would have been an investigation that the referee got paid off.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could have said because he was on FanDuel.
Yes.
He had
Yes!
bet on it on FanDuel. Now
So
you got your
anyway-
sponsor wrapped into it or whatever,
But no, I
That's
felt like it
funny.
was great. I knew you weren't going to do world class trivia.
Oh,
I don't do.
I mean,
that's
The guest,
might as well
the guest worked for world class, Ring of Honor, WCW,
exactly. I was like,
MLW.
no.
We're doing Money in the Bank trivia because you knew that we were in our wheelhouse. and
Yeah.
you'd like to stump me.
well, I told her in
Exactly.
the private chat, Dave, when you said, was it Kabuki or Kamala? And I told Amy, I said, that's a perfect trivia. You ask a question, you say, is this Kabuki or Kamala?
Oh yeah, really.
And
He
for all of y'all
was.
that are saying that there was a Kamala vignette that was being played
Yeah.
at that same time, I didn't ask him about it because I know that the Kamala vignette was filmed in Jerry Jarrett's backyard and it was
Uh-huh.
being used on a loop. I had already seen it in Houston.
Yeah.
I love it.
I
I was on
I
vacation.
almost did ask about the Kamala vignettes, but we didn't have time to get it in. I do want to, before we do start trivia, I want to get, because we're going to wrap up here talking about what we thought about Money in the Bank. Willie Buck says, what did you all think about John Cena making his retirement last Saturday at Money in the Bank on TV?
As long as he doesn't become a 17-time world heavyweight champion, I'm okay with it.
Oh, why?
Huh?
You don't think you should?
No.
Why?
Well,
When
good
they were
for
calling
you,
him
Andrew Hermes.
When they
you
were
guys,
calling him the greatest of all time, I was choking. And I'm trying to
Oh.
like Cena because he's such a great guy.
Yes.
When that last run he came through when he was the greatest of all time.
He's pretty darn good.
Yeah, he's okay.
he's not the greatest of all time.
No, I mean, sports entertainer, maybe, right?
The name
no.
WWE. So the name WWE was selling the tickets when during Cena's run. Ric Flair was selling the tickets during Ric Flair's run.
Sure. No, I mean, I think Willie. I mean, I think it's great. I mean,
But no, I'm for it. I'm for John Cena. I want that merch.
Yeah, I think
I'm
they should
wondering if
give
the
him his
door-
flowers. You know.
And I'm wondering if the door on his T-shirts is going to be connected to the White Six in any way, because he's going to be around till December. I thought he was just. I thought what he said on the pay-per-view that he was going to be wrapping it up at that he was going to wrap it up at WrestleMania, but then in the press conference he said he was going all through December.
Yeah, he ain't done. This is just starting off the last run, I think, of his last hurrah, so to speak.
Good. I mean, well, and I think, like you said, there's a lot of good matches. CM Punk said it too. You know, hopefully we get a chance to.
I know, Cheryl. I know you're right. I know you're right, but I hope you're wrong.
They probably will.
But
WrestleMania, Cena beats Gunther for the champion.
Hey, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we all know that Flair's a legit 23-time champion, at least.
All right, we can start trivia now. I think we got all the Money in the Bank talk ready to go.
I will say
I
will say that the women's Money in the Bank ladder match was hands down the best thing that happened the whole night. They put the men to shame, and those ladies really brought it. And, Chelsea Green is the MVP of the women's division right now.
I wish she had won. I really was. That was my.
I wanted her to win too, but her ending up at a table like that.
Oh yeah.
Her ending up at a table like that was a great spot, and
like you said, every girl, every lady.
Tiffany holding that
really
briefcase
did some interesting work.
Tiffany holding that briefcase is going to be money. And if Nia Jax wins at SummerSlam, does she hit Nia Jax in the head with it and cash in? Her being associated with Nia Jax and Nia Jax being the title picture, this is going to be good storytelling. And everybody thought that it was wasted, that Drew wasted it. And nobody's saying that CM Punk is the heel in this situation. He is total heel in this situation.
Oh, yeah.
Drew cashed in and made it a triple threat match. He didn't pick anybody off. He didn't chicken shit his way in there. He cashed it in and made it a three-way match. Let's go. Like a babyface would do. CM Punk is being a total heel in all of this.
Yeah. And Terry's right.
Great stuff. Yes.
Play Amy's trivia again. We need to play it again. We're out of time.
It's time for Amy's trivia. Think you have the facts? Let's play and see.
All righty. So we'll talk
now.
Some Money in the Bank trivia. All right. First question. At what WrestleMania did the Money in the Bank match debut? Was it 18, 19, 20, or 21? At what WrestleMania did the actual Money in the Bank match debut?
I think my original thought was 20. 20 was my number in high school on my jerseys in basketball and baseball, so I'm going 20.
20 would make sense that you would have something epic with a ladder match because Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon did something epic in a ladder match in that building. Andrew Hermes says 21. And he's
Y'all
pretty
should-
sharp.
I was
He's
going to
pretty
say,
sharp.
you may want to go with Andrew because it is 21. It was at WrestleMania 21.
Oh, thank you for doing that real quick before I wavered and went back to 20 because I liked that it made sense to book it.
I know,
But it's-
that's what I thought.
One for the good guy here.
That's right. All right, next question. I'll try to go slower.
Notice that Andrew said 21 and Allison said the D.
Well, you always go
Yeah.
with the D.
You should. Well, we know the D's on her mind, but that's from our group chat from earlier. We had some questionable croissants being made. Anyway,
Oh,
what year? What year did Money in the Bank become its own pay-per-view / PLE? So, what year did Money in the Bank become its own pay-per-view / PLE?
So 21, which would have been what, 2006 probably.
well, 17 was 2001.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's 20 would have been 2000 and what, 5?
Five. So
Yes, because
2006 would be 21.
I'm helping y'all.
So I'm gonna say 2008. Hey, Amy. Amy, what you wanna
Gonna
do?
do. I think. Okay,
I'll
Dave,
go
what you
to-
think?
I'll go 2009 just to be different.
You should have all gone C like the rest of our chat because
Well.
it was 2010.
They're Googling and cheating. You know how they
Yeah.
do.
Next question.
Turn around, Doug. They're cheating.
Turn around, Doug. That's a deep cut, Justin.
I was going to say, I am not going to question the integrity of our audience. Dave just fell off. What happened to Dave?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
We besmirched the good name of Doug Markham, so he could have cut his internet.
I guess so. How many male Money in the Bank winners has the WWE had? How many male Money in the Bank winners has the WWE had?
I'm just trying to get all these wrong at this point. I'm going to go for the perfect 0.0. There's our Howard Stern reference.
How many male? If it started in 2010, that's only. Oh, the pay-per-view started. Huh. I'm going to go 20.
Sounds good to me.
It was actually 19. There for a while, you had Raw winners and SmackDown winners for about 3 or 4 years. So that's where you had it's more than the actual pay-per-view or even the matches.
Goodness.
That we had. Sorry, it was a little bit of a trick question. They can't all be softballs, right?
Well, Allison called it as a trick question. She just got the wrong answer.
I don't do math after 8 a.m. and I don't wake up till 10 a.m. So.
All right, next question. What arena hosted the first ever women's Money in the Bank match? Was it the Allstate Arena? Was it the TD Garden, Scott Trade, or T-Mobile?
I think it was the Titty Garden. What is that? What you said?
TD.
Oh, TD.
I'm going to say T-Mobile because they be on the phone all the time.
I'm sticking with the TD Garden.
Well, what's really funny is the answer's in the middle. It was Scott's Trade. It was at St. Louis.
2018?
2017.
In St. Louis.
Yes.
What?
Stephanie, did we go to St. Louis in 2017?
Oh.
So one of y'all in the chat, when was Bruce's first live show in St. Louis? Well, we went to Money in the Bank in St. Louis, so we would have had to have been there in 2017.
Yeah, there probably wasn't too many in St. Louis.
I don't think there was another one in St. Louis.
All I remember is I couldn't see nothing. I was on the floor. I had floor seats. I couldn't see anything. I'm watching it like this, trying to watch a monitor all night.
I thought you meant you were literally on the floor. I thought
Take him
maybe
back to
that's
the sportatorium. That's why he had to sit in the front row of the upper section so he could see good.
that's right. That's right. All right, next question. What year did the Money in the Bank event have both the men and women's matches happening at the same time?
That
The
sounds
same
like some
time.
COVID shit. I'm gonna say 2020.
I'm stick. Every time I've said 20, I've been wrong, so I'm going to stick with 20.
You both are correct. It
Oh,
was
damn
during
it.
night. It was during the coronavirus where they were all at the office and they were all running around
Oh,
doing stuff, but it was actually happening at the same time.
I
So, yes.
remember that WrestleMania. I just remember that Edge and whoever he was fighting, it was backstage, and they were all just on top of stuff, and there was nobody in the building, and it just felt weird. And
Yeah.
I hated that whole COVID era of wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, you
I mean,
had to
they-
be creative, definitely. No, Otis did not. I don't know. Otis did not win that one. I don't believe. Right? He didn't know. He won like in 2022. It is Heather. That's what Otis won at the 2020. I did not realize that.
Wow.
Gosh, I
Otis
felt like
doesn't
it
seem
had,
like he's been around that long.
that's what I was going to say. I didn't, but I mean, of course I got to look it up, but because I'm. All right. Well, we'll be Googling that. We'll figure it out. I know Asuka. I do remember Asuka winning because that's when she got it from Becky. Becky said she was pregnant, right?
Yeah,
It
my wife
was
said
2020.
2020 Otis won.
Isn't that
My wife
crazy?
loves
That was
Otis.
4 years ago.
I love Otis too.
I would
He's
not
one of
have
my
guessed.
favorite.
I was gonna say I would not have
Like
guessed.
if
it
I
was
was going to ever
20
get
or 4
jealous of a
years ago.
wrestler, I would have to get jealous of Otis. Like
I would
Otis
love to see
like,
you.
like Otis has a chance.
Yeah, I would love to just see Otis pick
Really?
you up from your back deck and throw you in the pond, and then go into the house with Teppy.
That's
Now
so
I'm gonna have
funny.
I'm gonna work myself into a shoot, and I'm gonna have heat with Otis.
Oh, he's gonna be right. Steffi's gonna see him, and they're gonna concoct something together. All right. How about last question? So obviously, Money in the Bank 2024 was held outside the United States in Toronto, Canada. However, this is not the first time it has been held outside of the U.S. The first time was in London, England. What year was that? Was it 18, 19, 22, or 23?
22.
Dave, when do you think the first time?
Yeah, I don't think they were in London last year, so I'm gonna say 2022.
They were there last year because it was 2023. They were in the O2 Center for Money in the Bank in London.
No, I thought AEW had a cap on that last year.
Well, no, I guess they got there first because they went to the O2 Center, and then I guess they said, well, we'll do one better. We'll go to the Wembley. I don't know.
WWE hit it first.
So that is your Money in the Bank trivia.
Thank
you are welcome.
I sucked about as bad as I could throughout
Can
that
you
whole
tell
thing.
I'm getting a little glowy because I have no air. I don't know if anybody heard that earlier before I jumped on. We have our air conditioning went out. They're going to fix it tomorrow. And luckily it's cool here, but woo, it's hot in this little room.
I'm driving down tonight to personally hand fan Amy while she sleeps. So it's going to be fun.
So I guess Amy's the AC man is going to be your champion tomorrow.
Heck yeah.
He needs a belt.
He needs a belt.
Oh, yes, he does need a belt.
So we need to send your AC champion to Big Time Belts. Big Time Belts, Facebook.com. Low prices, high quality. Don't send your champion to the ring with a toy with stickers on it. You can have quality television, quality belts at very low prices from Big Time Belts. The North American Heavyweight Champion went to Big Time Belts.
Nice.
Those 3 letters I can't see without my glasses. With the pretty red leather and the American flags went to Big Time Belts. That's a lot like Tim's belt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is.
It don't hit for me in red like it does white. But this one hits for me in red The Arkansas Wrestling Association Openweight Championship came from big time belts. And whoever that champion is at the moment has one of the best looking wrestling belts in the business today, bar none, even some of the belts that are on television.
Mm-hmm.
That is a gem of a belt.
Yes, I agree. That's very
The
nice.
Summit Wrestling Association's crown champion came from big time belts. Our Russell L. Chew, the hair guru in Louisiana. We got to find this guy.
Yes.
We got to find this guy.
Russell L. Chew.
I need a haircut from the hair guru king.
Yes.
Yeah. Russell Chew, the
I
hair
can do that
guru,
for
is
some
a
bonus
legend.
content on the Ram Network. The AMW Junior Heavyweight Wrestling Championship. Our good friend Tim, his belt dreams are coming true. He's had them for 15 years. And his belt dreams are coming alive. He's telling Muhammad Zubair what he wants. Zubair's doing the artwork, sending it back to him. And Tim is getting, I mean, look at this. This is probably my favorite. I mean, it's top 3. They're getting so many that it's getting hard to pick. But Tim went there. If you like the old cast style belts, big time belts can do that for you. Getting married, wedding belts. Wedding belts.
And when you get divorced, you can throw someone through a barbershop glass window.
That's right.
That will work. Right?
Works for me. You get wedding belts, you can get divorce belts. Ding dong, the bitch is gone.
The new singles champion.
There it is, the AMW Wrestling
Yes.
Championship. Our friend Tim, well on the way to getting a divorce because he's crazy buying belts now.
Terry says he wish have thought of
Hey,
that.
and I want y'all to know that I
divorce.
like doing this on the air because when she leaves him, y'all can go back and see that I told him all along that might happen. I'm sure I said that. Wait, I'm being told. No, I told him I've got 75 of them. Trust me, they get over it.
Terry
That's the
said,
advice that I issued
Terry
out,
said
so.
that he wished he would have booked his divorce finish that way with the glass. I think Teppy said that she's booking hers with a buried alive match at the end of
Yeah, hey, trust me, when she decides to bury me, y'all aren't going to find me out here. The Manchester Player of the Week. He's strutting ass around campus with a big time belt. And then this is still the Mac Daddy of all the belts the big time belts has
the
made.
coup de grace.
The PCW Heavyweight Championship, Palmetto Championship Wrestling. Look at the way those colors pop on there.
Yes, that is a beautiful belt.
Look at that palmetto tree. Look how thick it is. Look at that craftsmanship. Raise those letters up. That centerpiece. It's breathtaking. Football season's coming. And you don't have hair on your ass if you don't have a wrestling belt for the champion.
I just joined a new fantasy league, and I might have to present this as a possible
yes.
I'm telling you, for under $300, you can have a fantasy football belt. And why not get side plates on it that have places that you can put nameplates on there for the winner every year?
I like that too.
So, I mean, I'll help you. I'll help you design it. I got plenty of ideas. Slide into my DMs if you need help with your
How
belt.
would Joe Burrow's face look right in the center of that thing? I think that
Bloody.
would look good.
Bloody. If somebody hit him in the face with a belt, it's probably the closest to a championship he's going to get.
Ooh, man. Poor Joe.
Big Time Belts, Facebook.com. Join the group. Let us make your belt dreams come true. And I want to thank them for sponsoring our podcast. Did you win that find?
Oh, what? That's the hair guru.
That's the hair guru.
Oh, that's Jimmy Choo.
Russell
Is that-
Chew.
Russell Chew. Sorry, yeah.
Hair Guru Ball. Hair Guru Ball. Is that what that says?
Hair Guru Ball. This is a thing. We're gonna have to find out about this.
I
Heck
need
yeah.
to hire Russell because my mom owns her own hair salon and she just had knee replacement surgery, and so she's out for 3 months. So we need a hair guru over here in Ohio. If Russell wants to do a
I'd
little
let Mr.
travel.
Russell cut my hair.
Is that a different? I'm trying to think because in this picture it looks purple. Is that a whole different belt?
No, it was
it's
purple.
the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just looks
Okay.
brighter in this picture
Okay.
than the purple it does in our picture.
Look
Okay.
at
I'm
that.
just making sure.
Look at our producer on the fly finding him.
She's
I mean,
fabulous.
She's working her ass off back there.
Do we know what part of Louisiana he's in?
Making a road trip.
Lord, she's just gonna get them on the phone for you at this point.
If Russell Chew has a good barbecue joint in town, Dave can go get a sandwich and his haircut. He's in. He'll drive 2 hours. He don't care.
Yeah. The Guru Ball was in Lake Charles.
Ah.
Lake
I
Charles is all Lake Charles, I talked to our friend Danielle earlier today. I messaged her to make sure her and her husband were okay because that area is getting bad weather.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she said they got some rain, but they made it through just fine. And
Good deal.
and hopefully Mr. Chew made it through as well if he's down there in Lake Charles. That's a long way to drive for a haircut.
Well, if you go down there, though, you could probably get you some good Creole food down there, some crawfish or something while you're down there.
I went alligator hunting in Lake Charles once.
Oh. You
I
did it in
Like
your
bare
backyard,
hands,
too.
like like
I
bare
went- yeah,
hands, like how they do it on the shows and stuff.
Yeah, we pulled them up out of the water, popped them in the head.
With it all.
Not a lot of sport to it. I mean, because they're already tired. But I got to go and it was cool. Had a good time. And
What'd you do with your alligators?
they got to keep the alligators.
Oh, you didn't.
No, I mean they fed us and we
Speaking
had a good time, but we didn't get to keep the alligators.
Speaking of animals, I have a little animal news. My beloved Owen. One of the reasons I'm wearing this Owen Hart shirt today is my beloved puppy Owen, my 3-year-old French bulldog, had to have surgery today. So he is.
What happened?
He's laid up. I didn't know this was a thing, but I guess he got a stone in his saliva gland, and it looked like a softball blew up on the side of his head. And he got turkey neck where it's draining into that, and
Poor thing.
it even started busting open and leaking yesterday. So it was. This all happened in about a week from diagnosing it to the surgery. So,
bless
but
his
yeah,
heart.
they cut him from here all the way up to near his ear, so he's got a big incision up through there. So he's kind of laid up. As we started the podcast, he had just kind of started to wake up. He had his surgery today around noon. Just started to wake up and realize kind of what was going on just now recently.
Poor dang.
Put a little prayer up there for Owen, but he's doing pretty good. He'll
Thoughts
be
and prayers for Owen.
Sweet baby.
Terry Weaver says there needs to be a TNA top 10 belt. We will discuss.
That's awesome. Our friends over at TNA Top 10 does just like he says. They do a lot of top 10 lists, and I think that would be appropriate, don't you?
Yeah,
You
and
could
I
help 'em
mentioned
with the roasting.
And speaking of the TNA top 10, along with the Filter Free Popcast, we are on the RAM Network. The RAM Network, we've all teamed up. We do a lot of bonus, like the song says, bonus content galore. Tune in today.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing all kinds of things over. We have an audience with the Belt Pope, where I feature a wrestling belt each episode. I tell you why I like it. Just a fun little, belt nerd podcast that I like to do. I was christened the Belt Pope about 20 years ago, and I've embraced it. And until there's a puff of smoke here at the Holiday Inn, I'm going to be the Belt Pope. Eras, the new generation. Dave in the HSV and Andrew Hermes are doing the new generation of WWE. I believe they're in 95. Help me out. Andrew, what year it is?
This is one of my favorite eras. This is starting probably around late 92, early 93, all the way through 95 or 6.
Yeah, they're
So,
deep
or
diving.
late 96, early 97, I should say. So this was, if you're around my age, around 40 years old, your late 30s, this is probably for you. So they're in 1993 right now.
This is the new generation. This is when they told Ric Flair that they were going to go younger and let him go back to WCW.
Yep. And this is when they put the right man in charge, which is Bret the Hitman Hart.
Oh, my Lord. The Filter Free Popcast. Filter Free Popcast does a deep dive. They'll pick a month in a year, and they'll just they'll go into all your pop culture, music, sports, movies. I don't know what the year they're on this week.
It might be 97. It's July 1997. It is one of the stories that they're going to be that they talk about is Giovanni Versace and the kid, when he was murdered.
Yeah.
And I have seen
Diana. Did she die in July 97, or was that a few months before that? That might have been June, or I was thinking that was around that same time.
Is it 97 or 98? I feel like it was a little bit
She died in 97.
later.
It was 97 that she died.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure if it
I
was the
think
first.
it might have been before July. Maybe
no,
it was
in August. It was in
August.
Okay,
It was after.
It was after.
August 31st.
It was in August when
I
she
knew it was
passed
close
away.
to July of the summer 97. Okay.
Did y'all hear Tippy yell?
I did. She's good at it.
Okay, because I didn't want to take credit for it if y'all could hear her.
But I have seen several documentaries on the gentleman of who murdered Versace, because Versace was not the only person he had killed during this spree that he had. So that's a very interesting documentary, and like I said, they kind of go on a deep dive with that, and I enjoy those kind of
July
stuff.
1997 was one of the favorite times of my life, just like that summer. And there's a lot that I remember throughout that summer, so that'll be fun.
And sometimes you want to listen to a podcast because you get tired of wrestling every now and then. That's to give you a good break from it.
Definitely.
Those boys do a good job over there.
Yes, they do.
What else we got? I was there. I was there as a fun concept. Terry Weaver has compiled a list with all the hosts from the Ram Network, and we're reaching out to our members to tell us about which show that you were there. We're going to watch that show. You're going to make one of us will be, like the first episode was Saturday night's main event from Dallas in 2006. I was there. I was on the front row. I caught Shawn Michaels' T-shirt.
Awesome.
We watched that and we talked about that show.
I think
we're
going
all
to
compiling a list.
Yes.
We'll tell you what's special about that show, why we picked it. Night of Champions 2008. I'm going to tell you now. I put on there that I was at Night of Champions 2008, and I recently heard a podcast that did a deep dive on it. I absolutely have zero recollection of any of those matches. I know I was there because I was on the front row. I got the seat. I don't remember shit about that night, so I can't talk about it. Maybe we'll watch it. I was there, so let's watch it and see if I can remember anything.
That's hilarious.
I was there, though. It's a fun show that we're doing over on the Ram Network.
I believe they're doing Bash at the Beach. It's the second episode.
Bash at the Beach 96.
I don't know. Possibly 96. I just remember
that was
Dave
in Florida, and I think Dave probably might have had a chance to be there, right?
Yeah, but what do you? Yeah, I like I said, I'm not for sure which one it is now that I sit there and say that.
Okay.
Or was it the one where 2000? Yeah, I was thinking it was
okay.
I was thinking maybe it was a little bit later.
Next
I'm sorry.
Just put it in your mouth. Andrew Hermes and Allison Faye are doing restaurant reviews and recipes. It's all about food because the RAM stands for wrestling and more. This qualifies as more on the Ram Network.
Definitely.
More.
And they're going to Vegas this week, so we ought to be getting some really good restaurant reviews.
Yeah, one of the best places to eat in the whole country, so they should have some good stuff coming.
There we go. This just in, wrestling preview. Justin Yent is gonna drop some wrestling news on us. The news of the day with Justin Yent. This just in. Another pretty logo for this just in.
Looks nice. And I will say, oh, go
World class flashback. I've been shilling that all night. Me and Timmy C are watching 1983.
In case you haven't had enough.
In case
Go
you hadn't had
check it
enough.
out there.
All this stuff we talked about tonight, you can go back and see why I'm so crazy for it. And coming soon on our Talking Wrestling with Palm Water Dave. Next week we're going to be joined by the Bojangles champion Jay-Z Flair.
Oh Lord.
Jay-Z Flair is one of my very, very close personal friends. I love this guy. His story is unique. He's more than just a guy that dresses goofy and carries a chicken belt.
He really is. He's a good.
There's a whole. I mean,
I can't wait to talk to him, Dave.
I don't want to spoil it. Just y'all know that don't roll your eyes at it. That this is going to be a fun show.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a good time with Jay-Z and his story. It's quite inspirational, honestly.
I met Jay-Z for the first time when we were at Low Key Big Hog Weekend years ago now, 5 or 6 years ago, maybe more. I don't know at this point. But he has had a transformation from the time we first met him to kind of now.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to talk to him about that and just to catch up with Justin because he is one of the good guys out there. That'll be fun.
It really
Definitely.
is.
Me and him had a legendary, him and Conrad had a legendary staring contest at Low Key Big Hog Weekend. And I felt so awkward because I was sitting next to Jay-Z.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. There's video of that, and I'm gonna try to get it this week. I'll try to get it.
You'll see me sitting right beside Jay-Z, just kind of looking back at both of them, just feeling
it was
awkward
funny.
as fuck.
It was great. Then we're gonna do we're gonna deviate from our normal schedule, and we're gonna go on a Monday night, July.
What's wrong?
On Amy's birthday. Amy's birthday, July 22nd. We're going to celebrate Amy's birthday. And what better way to celebrate Amy's birthday but have the BIW Women's Champion, Cassandra Golden, to join us.
Definitely.
No better way to celebrate Amy's 60th birthday than with Cassandra.
Oh, shame on you.
Now,
60th birthday.
And then to wrap up July, we'll be back on our Tuesday, July 30th. AIWF owner and promoter Matt Classic. AIWF is a federation.
Oh,
it's
cool.
a federation. They're in 24 countries.
Hey now.
Former guest Barrett Brown is the AIWF Cruiserweight Champion, defending this championship over in England.
Yes.
A true world championship. He's defending it around the world.
Awesome.
But it's a conglomeration of promotions that recognize one world champion, Greg Anthony. It's got a lot. I mean, they've been around since '92.
Well, one of the fun things that we do on this show is introducing you and us to these not new, but promotions that we do not know about, or so to speak. So this will be fun to learn about.
Yeah, I mean, this is really the closest thing to the territory system we have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they've been successfully doing it for over 30 years. So
that's all these great.
I'm super excited to get Matt Classic on here and hear all about it. He's just this is very fascinating to me. And I mean, you heard me and Dan talking about we were great NWA fans, and that was our jam. And this is going on in the independent circuit right now.
Awesome.
So that's what we got coming for you on Talking Wrestling with Palm Water Dave.
Super excited for the coming weeks.
TNA Top 10's on hiatus this week for Vegas trip, so they'll be back next week, and we're fixing to ramp up the college football format. I'm really super excited
sooner than we think. August is going to be here, and we're going to be in football mode here pretty soon.
We're living in a post-Saban world.
A post-Saban world.
It will be interesting.
Yes.
Yep, for sure. And thank you, Dan Bynum, man. We haven't had a guest probably go that long on this show for a long time, but it didn't feel like it went an hour.
No, I
and a
mean, we
half.
could have kept him all night, and we'd still be going. The guy's so fascinating, and we thank him for his time so much and his willingness to come on and share with us. And can't wait to bring you that Bad Street USA episode.
Definitely. Yes, that's going to be so good. Can't wait.
All right. So join us next week with the great Jay-Z Flair, the chicken champ.
It's Jay-Z Graham.
Jay-Z Graham, sorry, used to be Flair, former artist known as Flair, now Jay-Z Graham. The Bojangles
Well,
champ.
at some point, Jay-Z thought maybe he should pattern his life after Billy Graham instead of Ric Flair.
I know. I don't know how what a transition. And we're going to talk all about it next week with Jay-Z Graham, the Bojangles champion. So join us. Thank you so much, Dan Bynum. And thank you all that were in the chat. We had so many of you, Alice and Andrew, Terry. I can go down. I mean, Willie Buck, everyone that was in there. Thank you so much.
Cheryl,
yeah.
Cheryl Mitchcomb. Heather was here.
As always, you guys just are here every week with us, no matter what. And we really appreciate your support. And, you know, your comments really do fuel the show because we comment off of your comments or we put your questions into a guest. So the interaction is really important to us. And without you, we couldn't do it. So thank you so much.
You have a choice and you choose to be with us. And we can't thank you enough.
That's right.
Yes. Appreciate you.
So for the great First Lady there. Oh, as soon as I started, I knew
Hey, guess what? They let me on Cameo.
Uh-oh.
I saw that.
So if you got something really messed up you want to say to somebody, I can put on the lab coat and be Dr. Phil D. Payne, and I can cut a promo on it. I mean, I'll tell you, you want me to break up with your girlfriend for you? I'll do it.
Yeah. Listen. It starts like this. Listen, bitch, you're going to need to feel the pain. He's leaving your ass.
I can do it. I mean, I'm writing him a prescription for happiness, so he's leaving you. I mean, I can be Dr. Phil D. Payne. I can be Palm Water Dave. I can be Ref Super Dave. I'll put on the Ric Flair's last match. Crockett thing.
That's where I'm going with it. So you can run in and say, you know, referee decision. This is canceled.
I'll tell him happy birthday.
This relationship's over.
This relationship's canceled.
I mean, do you want Ric Flair to do a cameo for you, but you can't afford him? Trust me, you can afford me. I mean, you don't even need a coupon.
No coupon.
If you want him to pretend that he's beating a bitch in the head with a tuna can,
I will threaten people with a tuna can. I've got so many personalities that I can do a cameo for you as. I mean, you could call me Sybil. I mean, I got them all.
That's right.
I got a mask and my gear. The super D that you see on our opening that lands on his head.
If you want him to be chased by geese, he might be able to set that up if they're out in the
I'll go out there. No, the geese aren't here right now. I can't guarantee geese, but if they're here, I'll go out there and cut a promo with geese in the background. I'll go stand in the pond. I will find neat.
Stand in the pond.
I'm gonna work hard for you. If you want to go to Cameo, I'm Palm Water Dave on Cameo, and
OnlyFans is coming next week.
No, don't nobody want to see that.
Ooh.
I mean, I saw Tony Atlas licking some woman's shoe this week, so there might be somebody that wants to see that.
Peppy needs to pay for Christmas presents, so get your OnlyFans going.
But anyway, I'm on Cameo, Palm Water Dave. I'd be glad to deliver good news, bad news, whatever you want me to do.
All right, there it is. Is that the promo? Can I go home now? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do better next week. I forgot. I've been on there for 2 weeks. I forgot to tell y'all about it last week.
All right.
Because I'm an elderly.
There's an exclusive. You can find Pond Water Dave on Cameo now, along with the Hawktua girl probably and a lot of other people. So go check it out.
I'm not spitting on anything.
No, he ain't spitting on
anything. I have a line.
Dave will not spit on that thing, but he hopes that you join us next week. So for the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club, Miss Amy Vaughn, and for the great Pond Water Dave, my name is Justin Davis, saying take care of yourself and each other. So long, everyone.
Bye-bye.